Hi, welcome to the Conversant Podcast, conversations in theology, church, culture, and mission. My name's Mark Norridge, I'm the host of this podcast. I'm also the principal of King's School of Theology and part of the leadership of River Collective, a movement of churches in Northamptonshire. In this podcast, I talk to all sorts of interesting people around the issues of theology, church, culture, and mission, drawing particularly on those who tutor at King's School of Theology. My hope is that through our engaging conversations, we will equip, inspire, and provoke good conversations wherever you are. So, hi everyone, welcome to Conversant Podcast, conversations in theology, church, culture, and mission. And we are really excited today to have Noah and Steph on the program. We had a fantastic time with Noah and Steph when we were there in the workshop just a few months ago, filming with Noah and Steph, getting their take on their experience as KST students. So they're on the show today as KST students. Tell us a bit more about, doing that filming, which was great fun from our point of view, but maybe also a bit more about their experience at KST. Maybe you've seen the video. If not, you should head off to the King's Theology YouTube channel. Watch that promo video. Absolutely brilliant. Not me, by the way, I mean them. And we will. You'll enjoy that. But we're going to hear more from Noah and Steph today about their experience of KST and get to know them a little bit more. So, Noah and Steph, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Mark. Yeah, excited to do this with you.
Yeah. Great. So tell us a bit, we need to get to know you first of all, really. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Steph, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so we are Steph and Noah. We live in Worcester. We've been married for 3 years next month.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild how quickly that's gone.
Yeah.
3 years next month. And we are exactly halfway through KST at the moment. We're in our second year. We, as of last month, officially work together. So we run a business together. Do you want to share a bit about that?
Yeah. So I am a fine furniture maker. So I started my training in that eight or 9 years ago. And having worked in the industry for a while, decided to start my business 4 years ago. And yeah, I make a range of stuff, sort of built-in furniture, standalone furniture, high-end, sort of smaller items, all sorts really. Anything out of wood, I can do it. And you've come and joined me more recently, haven't you? To help out with the marketing side of things and anything that's not making, because you're much better.
So I've got a background in business management, education and marketing. So we came to a kind of crossroads and we just thought, what if this actually is an amazing opportunity for us to come together and grow and develop this business together. Noah is an insanely talented, fine furniture maker. And so I suppose it's my joy to be able to try and get that known more further afield in the marketing side of things and just grappling with the day-to-day running of a business together.
Wow.
Which is, it's cool when we could how we can help each other out and how our skill sets kind of complement each other.
Yeah,
lovely. Well, beautiful thing. Love that. So tell Noah, what's your favourite piece that you've made? Have you got a piece where you think, I like that's fantastic? I enjoyed doing that.
I think my favourite piece is probably I didn't do a degree, but it would be classed as my degree piece. It was like the first, or my final piece for the course that I did when I started to learn to make furniture. It's called the Ellipse Table, and it's made out of, the original is sycamore and walnut, and it's just a bit of a, what's the word, like sort of venturing into exploring how curves work within a piece of furniture, how you can bring the shapes, or bring different shapes together to create a really stunning looking piece. But also celebrating the beauty of the wood used within it. So I've used rippled sycamore, sort of book matched it, so you get this amazing sort of mirrored effect, and just really focusing on the pattern of the grain within the table, to best celebrate the timber and the design. So I think that, because it's my final piece for my training, it's always going to be something close to my heart.
It's always the eye catcher, isn't it?
It is.
At any exhibition, it's everyone just kind of magnetised to it. Like, can I touch it?
Wow. Okay. All right. So it's not just you that loves it. Then other people love it.
Fortunately, it's other people like it as well.
Where is it? Like, where is this piece now? Or you take it around with you?
Currently, it's in the workshop. We take it to shows and that sort of thing to show people the variety of stuff that I can do. But so I made two. The original is in the workshop. Then Mum and Dad have one as well, because they deserve it.
They earned it. They'd effectively paid for it in one way or another. I thought you were going to say the box that contains poker chips. I mean, that looked pretty cool.
That looks amazing.
Of recent pieces, that was one of the most enjoyable to do, just because it wasn't big. I'm trying to show on camera the size of it, but one hand's off screen. It's not massive, but the detail that went into it and just the exploring different techniques and that sort of thing within the making of just a small piece was great. And then the final thing was, I loved it.
It had these two beautiful silhouettes of swallows that the clients specified they wanted on the inside. So you open the lid up, and it was marquetry, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Inlaid in sycamore inside.
That was the only part of the design that she had any idea of what she wanted, the client. It was a gift for her partner. And she said, the only thing that I know I want is a silhouette of a pair of swans. Swallows, not swans.
I think it wasn't swans.
Well, we got that wrong. A pair of swallows. She said, the rest of it, do what you want. So it sort of gave me a nice sort of focal point, but enough freedom to make it my own.
So where can people see pictures of this somewhere? Is there a website? Is there an Instagram or something?
All of the above, Mark.
Yeah.
All over Instagram, Noah Morris Bespoke, and noahmorrisbespoke.co.uk. Little plug.
Noah Morris Bespoke. Love it. Love your passion for all of that. And I'm kind of intrigued as where this goes in terms of bringing that together with studying at KST. And I guess that's kind of a focus of where we'll get to in a moment. And this idea that really practical working with wood, and I'm sure someone would ask, like, why study theology if you're doing that? So, but we won't get ahead of ourselves, because I've got standard questions here that I'm going to ask everyone, and you are not escaping your KST students. So, my first question for both of you is: what is the last book you have read?
So the last book. Well, I tend to listen to books while I work. So I'll go with last book I listened to. My current book is The Lord of the Rings and the Two Towers. So I think I've done the whole series about 4 or 5 times, because I've got many hours in the week where I'm listening to things. But I love it. So yeah, that's the book I'm on at the moment.
Wow, that's a winner. That's a winner.
But I haven't finished it yet, and I'm just beginning, but really looking forward to reading. I got it for Christmas. It's called The Sacred Enneagram. Have you come across the Enneagram at all?
I have. It's too complicated for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I kind of dipped my toe into it, but I'm looking forward to reading this one. It's basically, so for anyone listening that isn't familiar, it's an ancient personality typing tool. And I'm sure someone listening will be like immediately switching off. But to me, it's I just think it seems like such a beautiful tool in terms of compassion and understanding why we are the way that we are and how we're wired in different ways. But the interesting thing about this book is that Chris Hertz, the author, has written it through the lens of he kind of compares insight of the Enneagram with biblical teaching and how it can help us to relate to God in the way that we're wired personally and understanding other people in that way. So I think that'll be interesting.
Does sound interesting. Does sound interesting. Maybe we'll link that in the show notes and people can do that. So that's books. My other standard question then that I like to ask is, who is your favorite Christian? Go on, Noah. Your turn.
So, my favorite Christian or pair, can I have a pair? Is Jonathan and Melissa Helser. They're a couple that are linked with Bethel in America, and just their worship, the way they worship, the teaching, it's just something that I connect with.
Nice.
I love it. I love the way they lead and their passion and their just love of Jesus.
I was actually similar. If we I don't know if I have a favorite Christian, but someone that for years I've been inspired by and just love when she pops up on YouTube or something is Stephanie Gretzinger, who I came across when I was about 19, worship leader. And just all the times I hear her speak on podcasts or sermons or while she's leading worship, she has this really amazing, I'm trying to figure out what it is that I like about her. It's this really kind of childlike and pure nature in her relationship with the Lord, and just no kind of pretension, no holding back. And so she just brings her whole heart, and she just displays so beautifully that real intimacy she has with the Lord. And when I'm watching her or listening to her teach, in me, it's like, oh, how do I get close to the Lord like she is? Yeah. And so if someone can do that for me, that's a really beautiful thing. Yeah. So I always enjoy catching bits of her teaching, and being led in worship by her is really nice.
Beautiful. Love that. And yeah, both of you. Well, thank you. And there's something about that your own that I've witnessed is your own sincerity yourselves in pursuing God in that way. So that maybe isn't a surprise to people that you've chosen there. That's brilliant. So let's move on then to looking at KST. So really excited that you are students at KST. We loved having you part of the student body. So you're in your second year of 3, obviously part-time study. So you're doing it in the midst of life, in the midst of running a business together and all of those things. And in the midst of your own interests in those different areas. I guess the first question I would like to ask is why did you do KST? Why have you signed up for KST?
So many reasons for me, I think. Together, we both knew we wanted to do theological teaching at some point. And it kind of came to the point where I thought, well, why not now? Let's just do it now. I think for me, the Bible, always will be the case, but so much of it is just mystery, and like, how the heck do I grapple with these deep and complex teachings, and what the heck does this mean, and how does that link with that? And I think over the years, I've recognized in myself, probably since starting KST, that some parts I kind of didn't understand or a bit confused by, and would just not really wrestle with it or read into it or ask people. I would just kind of think, oh my goodness, I don't get that, but I trust God is good, so keep moving, and maybe just leave it there, but not actually ever go back to understanding it. And then what that's caused is just me feeling that there was this big thing just missing in my faith, in understanding God and who I am. And I just couldn't help but think that I must be able to find more meaning and purpose in the Word. So that's one of the reasons for me. How about you?
I think for me, having grown up in a church where teaching was like really good, strong theological teaching, one thing that I always enjoyed was listening to the sermons, because I knew like it was a great sort of foundation for me. But wanting to learn how to pick things apart better myself, because it's one thing being taught it by someone, it's another thing being taught how to do it yourself. So that was something that I wanted to learn, was how to unpick the Bible a bit better myself.
Yeah, nice. We love that at KST. That's what we're aiming for, really, is that ability for if you like the ordinary Christian, or the particularly people who think, oh, maybe I can't do this, to go, yeah, this is your Bible, like, and there are tools that you can be gained to really go, yeah, I can have this, I can read this, I can understand it more deeply. And that kind of, I don't know, it can feel a bit of a black box sort of situation sometimes. Kind of like, I can read the words and I know they encourage me, but but like, there must be more in here. Other people seem to find more in here, but can I? And I guess, that's kind of, I guess, reflects something of what you've said there. So, what were there concerns when you were starting? Was there things that you were a bit worried about? Was there anything that caused you to feel reluctant about starting KST? How did you get over any obstacles in that way?
I think for me, I never had concerns per se. More, I knew I wanted to do it, kind of go with the flow. But I suppose one apprehension was how much time it might take up in terms of the assignments, and but I found that there's, even in a kind of a busy week and busy life, there is time that you create for it. And the reality is, in however many weeks you have to do an assignment, you know that you've got these 2 days here, I've got that weekend there, got those few days. That's the time I have. So I'm going to do what I can in that time. And that's just the reality. And then when it comes to completing an assignment and hand it in, it's always like, oh, there's so much more to be explored or to be uncovered or something. But the reality is, the scope of the essay is just this big. The time I've had is just this amount. Do I know more now than I did before? Yes. Okay, great. Submit, keep learning, move on, rather than always trying to do more or think, oh, there should be more to this. I should have done more. But just to like leave that thinking behind and just do what you can in the time you have and be happy.
That is, be happy. Like that is one of the disciplines of part-time study, of studying in the midst of life, definitely. And it's always a spiritual discipline, to be honest. And lots of students do struggle with that. But to be honest, any students, that's my experience of any student. My own studies, I did a master's even just recently, and I did 15,000 words or something. I still felt like I'd only scratched the surface. There's always more to do, and it's quite a discipline to do what you've just said, which is to go, this is the time I've got to do it in, this is what I'm going to do. And that's not a reason not to do it, I suppose, is it? Because you go, either I get what I can get out of this, which actually turns out to be lots, or I don't get anything at all. Well, I might as well, the fact I can't get everything in the whole world shouldn't be a barrier to getting the bit you can get, I suppose.
Yeah.
Nice.
How about you?
Yeah, I think my main concern was the assignments. So I'm dyslexic, and one of the things I really struggle with is sort of essay writing. So when thinking about doing the assignments, that was the thing that filled me with dread. The idea of like I knew I wanted to learn this stuff, but then actually putting it into practice and writing the assignments, I didn't want it to feel like school, where I had to do these essays, and I always felt like whatever I'm writing, it's always wrong, and my grades reflected that a little bit. But yeah, my concern was I didn't want it to, like, if I'm going to study theology and this is going to be as part of my worship, I want to enjoy it, because the last thing that I'd want to happen is to actually then resent studying the word, like I did when like I used to resent essay writing at school. So that was my concern, and the actual essay writing itself. But it's And it's sort of like what you said, it is what you make of it. And, my goal here isn't to get A stars. My goal here is to learn more and progress. And if I can see the progression in my faith, and I can see progression in what I know and understand, then that's the goal, isn't it?
Definitely. That's our little KST kind of catchphrase, isn't it? It's progress over performance.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter about the A's. It matters that you're growing and learning and big on that, because so many students come in with exactly that concern, and obviously not exactly that concern, a very similar concern to what you're expressing there. It's a common concern, and progress over performance all the way.
So. And can I just add in there, you guys as staff are so good at always reminding us that very thing. There is grace, and you're so aware that these studies are happening within busy lives. And so it's like the moment someone might start thinking, oh, like that bit was really difficult, how am I going to grapple with that in the essay? There's this constant voice saying, you're doing really well. and we're here to help you. And just that constant voice of grace is really good. And for a lot of people, that's probably a really necessary reminder. With if they had those kind of past links with school or college or university, it's kind of a different feeling.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, people coming into having had different experiences of education, particularly competitive, or competitive and not doing great, or a teacher who treated them unkindly. All of these things. Actually, they become go into a whole other train of thought here, but they become barriers to learning. A generous attitude and a heart, a caring attitude actually enables more learning. That's what we think.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So, I guess what have you gained then? I mean, you're kind of, you're probably nearly halfway through, maybe not quite, but you're almost halfway through your experience of KST. What have you gained so far?
Where to begin? First thing coming to mind, I suppose, is tools to do with exegesis. Tools.
That's a long word. What's that? You educated people. Look at you, students.
I know, the first time I heard that word, I was like, "Oh, fancy." For me, just having tools. I suppose you mentioned it earlier. To help us understand the text. I mean, this sounds. Understanding the text right in front of us, we're looking at the historical context, looking at where it falls in the big story of God, and all the layers of the text and what can be understood. And there's a couple who are good friends of ours in Worcester who did KST years before we did. I say that like they're really old, not years ago, just like years before.
Back in the old days.
And one of them said one of his main takeaways was that the tool of exegesis and how it's changed his Bible reading now, even though he learned it all those years ago. I agree. So that's one of the things that I've gained. How about you?
Yeah, I think sort of similar for me, but also the friendships with people within the year group that we're doing it with, and also the other 2 year groups as well, because there's bits of it where we're all together, just the friendships, and then from that the new perspectives that you gain from hearing what other people have to say on a particular thing, just because it is a broad range of people. It's not all people that are going to become bishops or all people new in their faith. It's a broad spectrum of all sorts of people, all walks of life, all stages of life. So getting a really wide sort of group of perspectives on various things, and just sort of helps to open up your eyes to things a little bit.
And it's such a beautiful group of people. Like the humility in the room is amazing, I think. And just this is kindness and humility which of course, like, we hope for in a group of Christians. It's a lovely thing. And I remember a time when I can't remember what it was we were talking about, but we'd been split off into kind of breakout rooms, and I was sharing something. And then one of the other guys really, he might not even known he was doing it, but he basically what I was saying wasn't necessarily with the Father's heart, and I was there was some kind of how to articulate. Well, basically, he kind of responded really beautifully, reminding me, actually, the Father's heart is this. And I was like, that's so true. And in that moment, I was able to then see it in a different light, because he brought that in that moment. And as I say, he might not even have noticed he was doing that, but that was just his response. But I was like, hey, yeah, I'd misunderstood that, or I was listening to a lie about that thing before, and now you've helped me to see it differently. So there are kind of moments like that dotted around, which is just a really brilliant thing.
Yeah, nice. So you've got that. I like what you said there. You've gone from exegesis and the text and layers of meaning, like, and then gone to, which is really impressive. Like, I'll take that as a KST success. That's my best grade. But then you've gone to sharing spiritual life and encouragement with each other and reminding each other of the character of God that enables us to grow. So that even what you said there, I love that sense that there's a holistic nature of growth here. It's not just about being clever with words or getting your head done or writing essays. Like there's a whole life transformation that I think that people experience at KST. Is that sounds like what you're saying? Like, why would you do it otherwise? It's good. It's good. So there's probably, you've said some of these things. Are there other things you've enjoyed particularly about your experience?
I've particularly enjoyed looking into the history of things, like particularly like there was one weekend where we looked at the history of the forming of canon, and just looking at that, I found that really interesting. The whole, like, I find history really interesting, and so just looking at historical context and just all of that sort of thing, I've absolutely loved.
Yeah, cool.
And it's off the back of that, for me, that understanding the history of a lot of the stories has helped me see it more as, like, yes, it's a divine book and the word of God, but also a historical account of things that happen.
Yeah, right.
And how that helps me to this might sound silly as I say it out loud, but it helps it to, what I'm trying to say, it becomes more real to me. Is that yeah. Just in, because I believe it to be true, and then when you add on to it the historical context, it just shines different light on it, and it helps you understand it in a deeper way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And the sense it's rooted in real history it becomes deeper. Though, if there's a roots that, I don't know, that's one of the layers, I suppose, to how we think about the Bible, isn't it? It's rooted in real events, and that historically located, that enhance that its meaning. Yeah, and I get that. It becomes more relevant actually because of that. Yeah, I think without that, it just becomes a floaty thing somehow. And I don't know if that's not a very theological thought, but without it being rooted into history and real life, it becomes a floating idea where we try and pick out little spiritual encouragements as we read it, which is fine, isn't it, as a starter for 10? But I think it's the gap that you were talking about earlier, Steph, between pulling some spiritual life here and knowing God over here, but fully there's some stuff there that can be put in that really fills that gap and adds richness to it all. It's good. Is there anything in your learning that you like it's your favorite thing? Like, is there anything where you go, hey mum, I've got this cool thing, or when you're down the pub over a pint, you go, hey mate, let me tell you my favorite discovery. Maybe not, but is there any things that you kind of go, that's a cool thing?
I think for me, is just the sheer amount of interlinking themes and like how everything throughout the whole Bible just is interwoven together. It's that sort of thing of like, I remember growing up, one of my friends would always ask, well, how do you know it's not just someone made it up and just wrote it down and it's a joke that got out of hand? And it's like, actually, you look at all of the interconnecting, interwoven things. It's incredible. Like one of my favorite, I guess it's a diagram, and it's a picture. It's like you've got all of the books of the Bible written down the bottom of this table, and then it's like a loop of all of the different connecting things, or it might even be the like different Bible verses. It's one of my favorite pictures, but I don't know much about it. It's like all of these like amazing like strings of attachments all together, and just sort of seeing it actually not just on a piece of paper with all of these pretty lines, but like exploring it a bit more and finding out more about all of these interlinking things and different themes that run through everything. And it's just, as you look deeper into it, it explodes more and more. It's just becomes more and more exciting, I think.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, good stuff. Now we get that. I can imagine that diagram of like, this comes from here, this comes from here, this is coming here, this theme is going here. Yeah, love it.
Yeah. That's totally something, one of the main things that I'm learning in KST. And just, so we do a small group now where we do a Bible study, and how many times now I can spot parallels or something else that it's connected to that I can then bring as insight to the group, whereas before I wouldn't have been able to. That's really cool. So thanks, KST. No, it's nice, isn't it? As you're learning new things, and then you get to bring that to the people around you, having learned it yourself, is a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, for sure. Get to share it. Excellent. And then, so just off that, is there more to say about that? Like you've enhanced your own spirituality, maybe your own relationship with God, your own understanding of the Word. Have you, seen it enhance your experience with your church community or any other areas of life? What impact has it had?
So many questions tied into one.
That's all I like.
Where should we start? I suppose to do with understanding God. One of the things that I've kind of been grappling is just the idea that it's being comfortable somehow with the mystery of who God is in many ways. Like, yes, we can have a personal relationship with the Lord, and God can reveal himself to us all the time. And yet he is God and beyond our imagination and understanding. And so it's kind of holding those two things together and just moving through that, and just, it's just, I guess, just living in that tension of knowing and not yet knowing, I suppose. But in all the different things we're learning in KST, I'm just so aware, like, our God is so big, yet right here. And just kind of holding that and not being overwhelmed by something that seems so big, but being comfortable enough to just sit in. Do you know what I mean? Just to kind of sit in that discomfort of that tension.
As Steph said earlier, like, we've started leading the young adults group at church, and just it's given, for me personally, it's given me a confidence in leading that actually that I'm able to bring things, share things, and lead that confidently, and confident in what I'm talking about, and confident in what I'm sharing, that I'm not leading people astray. Like, it's bringing in different things that we've learned throughout our time at KST, and different perspectives and different just bringing in all these things that we've learned, tying it all in, and being able to share that with the other young adults within our church has been really great.
Excellent stuff. I guess we're kind of probably heading towards the end of this section of the conversation. Is there anything you would say to people who are considering doing KST? I think you've given a really wonderful picture of what it's looked like for your life. What would you say to anyone else?
I think for me, I'd say absolutely go for it. Just sort of thinking back about my concerns before I started, the worries about essays and how would my dyslexia play into that and all of that sort of thing. I think I'm so happy that I did it. And so, I had conversations with lots of different people, in which they just sort of people that have done KST in the past, and they encouraged me to go for it, and just like as you guys always say, it's progress over performance, and it's my own worries at the start of it and before starting, they're just gone now. I actually do enjoy the essay writing side of things now, because it shows me how much I'm learning. Like on the weekends, there's so much information that you're trying to take in. It can get to the end of it and you're a bit like, oh, that was full on. But then actually when you start doing your own work and doing the essays and just sort of breaking things down in your own time, it's like, oh, I can't believe how much I've learned. This is amazing. And so it does sort of prove to yourself how much you're learning and taking in. But yeah, I'd say absolutely go for it. I'm so happy that I did.
And I think in that decision process, there may be people who have worried about it on your behalf, but I think that's because they love you and they want, they don't want you to be overwhelmed with too much to do, or they don't want you to be tired, but actually you know when is the right time for you to do it. And sometimes it's good to listen to those people, but sometimes they're worrying about you when they don't need to. So it's when it's the right time to do it. And for us it was now. And I remember going to the taster day in the April, and one of the first people we met in the break in the morning said, so my friend told me that at some point in your life you need to do KST, so she did it. So I suppose we can now say that. Do KST.
Every day, well, at some point in your life.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and I think the oldest graduate from KST was 83. So that. But I always say, well, like, why wait that long? I get the benefit a little bit earlier in life. It's probably if you're going to do it sooner or later. Actually, just one before we move on, before we bring us to a close. You talked earlier, both of your kind of people that you respected, enjoyed as Christians, your favorite Christians, were around the kind of worship space, of real. So you obviously you're worshiping, like you love worship. Is that right? That's what I'm picking up.
Yeah.
And so I'm intrigued on that. How has, and you've even, Steph, you said it there about this idea of mystery, and you're holding mystery, but you're growing in your understanding as well. So how has, this is a direct question, how has studying theology impacted your worship?
So when we started leading together very recently, when it comes to considering which songs to lead with, how they, I suppose just that the theology is good in the songs, really, because, there are going to be songs out there that actually theologically, do we want to be singing this? Is this the right thing to bring to the room? And so I suppose that's one simple thing of having a better understanding of our own theology to then be able to see what we're singing with different eyes. What about you?
Yeah, I think the same. Just sort of because worship is a big part of our lives, thinking more about the songs, the words that we're singing in these songs, and what it actually is that we're singing. Because I think often you can, when it's a song that you've known for ages, and you can just sort of sing along without actually thinking about the words. But I found myself a lot more thinking about the words that I'm singing, which sounds a little bit silly to say, but actually I'm sure most people, if not everybody, will have had times where they're singing a song and they're not actually thinking about the words they're singing. They're just singing it because they know the words. Yeah. Actually, when you think about the words that you're singing and who you're singing them to, I think it's important to think about the words that it's just a bit of a riddle, isn't it? But it's important to think about the words that you're singing, because we're singing to God, the creator of the universe. If we're giving him our worship, then it's important that we think about the words that we're using to worship him.
Absolutely. And the thing is, when we sing it, I know we sing it over and over and to tunes, like it sticks in our head, doesn't it? And so often, I think it is possible that I could more easily quote a worship song than I could quote a Bible verse. I know I've got friends that's definitely the case for, I know a friend who that would be the case, because that's what happens when we sing. So obviously I'm going to say that as principle of a Bible college. Let's have worship songs that are actually kind of good theology, got some depth to it, because it's what sticks in people's heads. It's discipling. So that's pretty exciting that you can.
There's definitely songs that I have sung growing up and sort of still sing now, that like you'll be reading your Bible, or like someone will bring a reading at a church service, and you're like, I know that. Where do I know that from? And so tune comes into your head, and it's like, oh yeah, it's that song. That's where it's from.
It's actually in the Bible.
But interestingly, just on that point, there's a worship leader called Brooke. Is it Ligoodwood? She's from Hillsong Church. And she is aware that I think she was talking about a lot of young Christians now do learn their theology from worship songs. Of course, on Spotify, it's like a genre, like Christian worship. And so she is specifically making sure that the songs that she writes and puts out into the world are full of really strong theology that people can be singing and learning the word through singing. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, very good. And music is ever present with it. Everyone is going around, including myself, with music in our ears, aren't we? Whatever we're doing, and that often strikes me, being an older person, that wasn't always the case. I remember the Walkman coming out, and that's with tapes and all that. Like, we didn't always have the ability to have music. We can call any music in the whole world ever. We could just go, boom, I'll have it. Boom, it's there in my ears. And so, yes, maybe it's more powerful than it. Well, I think it was always powerful, but that's a really interesting point. To do that, it's good stuff. Love that. Get theology and worship together, and hopefully our knowledge of God just feeds our worship in the midst of all of this. That's good stuff. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm going to finish in the way I'm always finishing my Conversant podcasts, and that is, and I like this. In fact, it's so much so that I'm brewing on a whole podcast on this theological peeves, and in fact, the main one is going to be, this is going to be the title of a podcast one day, and it links to what we just said. Worship songs I love to hate. Like, I'm going to have the whole podcast, and so if you've got, I don't know if you guys have got any worship songs where you go, no, stuff that, I don't know. I don't know why that's in there. But anyway, worship songs I love to hate. One day I'm going to have a podcast. Enough. I'm just got to do it in a lovely way, obviously. But anyway, so I like to finish the podcast with a pet peeve. And often that's a pet theological peeve, but I don't mind. It could be any pet peeve. What is it that gets your heart rate growing? What is it that makes you want to slap your forehead when you see it, or hear it, whatever? Do you have, I know you're lovely people, but do you have a pet peeve? Your pet theological peeve.
depends on the mood, really, doesn't it? What's your
So-
favorite?
Yeah. For me, I realised this a bit more recently, is when I'm in the supermarket. So it's not a theological pet peeve; it's just a pet peeve. When I'm in the supermarket, most of the time I'm in a hurry, and I'm blessed with long legs. I'm 6'4", so I'm a tall man, so I can move pretty quick. Supermarket saunterers, when they don't move their trolley out the way as well, they're sort of walking beside their trolley, blocking the whole aisle. So if I want to get to the pasta, which is just on the other side of them, and they're busy browsing and won't move, I've got to go all the way around, and otherwise I'm sort of dawdling in there all day. I'm in a hurry. I need to get my food and get home. So yeah, my pet peeve would be supermarket saunterers.
Supermarkets.
You put them in their own category of people.
Yeah, a whole category. Yeah, there's a whole category in society. Just wipes out with that pet. Look, beautiful. Come on, Steph.
Gosh, okay. I mean, one of the things I'm working on to be more gracious in this area is mess and chaos. I'm very kind of neat, tidy, organized. And so if there's chaos or mess, I'm like, no, like quick, this needs to be organized and sorted. But it's not like there's a right and a wrong way. Like I get that, but I feel like there is. But I suppose, kind of disorganization and chaos and mess. I'm like, immediately, this needs to be cleared up now. But yeah,
I've been to Noah's workshop. I've been there. Is this, or is that okay?
No. It's not.
This is one of the big changes that's come in. Is 4:00. My alarm goes off and it's tidy up time. And so I often have, as I said earlier, I've often got either a book going on in my headphones or music playing. And when it gets to 4:00, if my phone's up in the office, my book or my song will stop, and then I'll hear that little, when you're typing and your phone's on loud. There's a song that Steph will play over the speaker.
From upstairs on like
from upstairs. And it's like a child's TV show song about tidy up time. And
this is a joke, by the way. I'm not that creepy. Right now, I need to play this. It's just to make Noah laugh.
Brilliant.
And it does it every time. Like the music will stop, and I'm like, I know what's coming, and then I hear the little tapping, and I can picture Steph smiling.
It's time.
Wow.
Yeah, one of those little things. Yeah. But yes, no, the workshop, there's changes have happened since
big
you've been
changes,
there.
Yeah.
There's been redecoration, there's been organisation and processes. But the goal is that things work smoother and there's a better flow and all that good stuff.
One of the many things that Steph's bringing to the business is a better flow of things and better organisation, because the more organised I am, the more work or the more capacity I've got for work, the more efficient I'll be. So and there's a lot of grace that's come with it as well.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Well, listen, we loved being in with you on that day. It's filming the workshop, and really appreciated your time and generosity with that. Really appreciated you guys, sharing your story. Really appreciate you sharing your story again today about KST. Thanks so much. Thanks for giving us your time. Thanks for enjoying KST. Thanks for being brilliant students. And so there's your pet peeves. There's your KST story caught up in the Conversant podcast. But really grateful for that. If any of you guys listening want to find out more about KST, head over to kingstheology.org. You can sign up for one of our intro sessions and you can get a bit more of a flavour of what KST is about. But to be honest, you've been given a brilliant flavour there by Steph and Noah. So just click sign up. Just go there, click sign up. All good, kingstheology.org. We'd love to see you at any of those sessions. And don't forget also to go to Noah Morris Bespoke. That's right. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Noah Morris Bespoke. All the channels, all the web, all over the world. Gone viral. Everything's happening. Get some beautiful bits of woodworking, fine carpentry done by Noah. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate what you shared with us. And we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks so much,
Thanks,
Mark.
Mark.
Speak to you
Cheers.
soon.